Good evening, all of you. So, in day 19, we are going to discuss about structure, defining a structure, definitions of a structure, and how we will going to initialize the structure, and how we will going to assign the values to the structure members. And after that, we are going to discuss about nested structures. So now in this today class day 20, we will going to discuss about array of structures. So it is also possible we can declare the array of structure, whereas in previously we can declare we can assign values to the structure variables. So with help of a structure variable is equal to list of values. So whereas now if you want to read number of student details or number of staff details or number of employee details, so then you have to use a array of structure. So this is a syntax or declaration of array of structure. So the example is struct employee information. So it is a structure name and followed by name. So it is a character data type and age and designation of the employee and salary of the employee. And I want find out number of employees in a employee information will be 200. So that means up to 200 will go and read the employee information. So the employee information contain name, age, designation, salary. So here this declares staff to be an array with 200 elements. So that means that you can read total 200 employee information. So with help of this array of structures. So this is an example for array of structures. So here I am using a declaring of array of structure student and displaying the marks of student who got more than 75 marks. So for that what do you do? So I am going to declare the structure student. So it is a structure name is student and followed by roll number, serial number and marks, and I'm going to create the structure variable by using a struct and followed by student name and followed by s. So here s is a structure variable, and here I'm going to read a number of student details will be up to 60 students data. So I'm going to read 60 student data. So that is the maximum size of my array. So after that, among these 60 students of data, so how many students data you want required from the keyboard you have to enter. For example, out of 60, I want required only 5 student data or 3 student data. So then I will go and mention, so that is as a n value. So that means out of 60, how many students data you want required. So if n is equal to 3 or if n is equal to 5, then we have to use for loop for reading of roll number, for reading of name and for reading of marks. So after reading of these roll number, name and marks, then you have to display roll number, name and followed by marks. And for that what you have to do, you need to check the condition. So those students marks will be greater than 75. So then I want to display their roll number, their name and their marks. So those students marks will be greater than or equal to 75. So I want to display only for that student roll number, name and followed by marks. So this is an example for array of structure. So now I'm going to execute this code. So for that what you have to do? So you can open a notepad or notepad plus plus. So I will open the notepad and I want to paste my program. So after that I'm going to copy the remaining program. So now I'm going to save the file. So with the save type will be all files and followed by, so just I want to write array struct. So array struct dot c. So that is my name of the file. So array struct dot c. Now you can save the file in Turbo C3, and inside of Turbo C3 you can save in inside the bin folder. So now I want to open my Turbo C++. So I want to open my Turbo C++. So then I need to execute the code. So before that, what I have to do, I'm going to close all the windows. So I'm going to close all the windows. Then I will go for new, and I want looking for .c file. So that will be a array of structure. So this is a program. Now I'm going to compile this code. So by pressing Alt F9. So it's getting some errors. So that will be have to rectify. That is a struct is a small keyword. So now again you have to execute the code. So here you have to write s name. Again you have to compile the code. So there is no errors in my code. Now you have to execute the program. So now it will be asking out of 60 students. So how many students data you want required? So just I will be take 2 student data. So then I want to enter the roll number. So the roll number is 501 and the name is Sai, and their marks. So marks will be, I will enter 12. Okay, next I will enter the again second student data. So roll number is 502 and the name is Kumar, and I have entered the marks will be 87. So now see here. So when compared to Sai, so the Kumar having got a more marks. So then I need to display that data. So their roll number, their name, and followed by marks of the Kumar. So that is output of the given example. So here the array of structure will be used for to read a number of data from the keyboard. So can declare any number of staff data, student data, or employee data with the help of an array of structures. So that is about array of structures. So I'm going to close that and will coming into PPT. So that is about array of structures. So I will explain one more time. So here I am declared the size of the array will be 60 students, and S is a structure variable. So now I'm going to read how many students out of 60 students, how many students we want required. So for that I am going to use a for loop for reading of roll number, name, and marks, and after that I am going to check if marks will be greater than or equal to 75. So those student data I want to display, like a roll number followed by name and followed by marks. So if you want to access a roll number of a student, a roll number of a structure member, then you have to use S of I. So S of I dot roll number. That means that it is a array of structure. That means that the first value which will go and store at index number 0, and next value which will go and store at index number 1, and the next value which will go and store at index number 2, and so on. So you are already discussed arrays concepts in the previous sessions. So it will be same as here. You have to use same as in structures also. So this is initialization of the array of structures. So here I am taking number of employees will be 3 is equal to and followed by I want to declare the 2 employees data. So out of 3 employees data I entered only 2 employees of data. And same thing, so what are the data I here I initialize, same thing I want to display with help of a structure variable and followed by index number dot followed by structure members. So I want to display name and employee number and salary of the structures. So like this we will going to initialize the array of structures, or you can read data from the keyboard also. So next one is pointers, and if you have any doubts please share your so if you have any doubts please post your queries in the chat box. So if you have any queries please post your queries in the chat box, so I will try to answer. So next one is pointers and structures. So up to now you have to discuss about nested structures, and after that you have discussed about array of structures and initialization of structures, and after that now we will go and discuss about pointers. So I will go and use the pointers in the structures. So if you want to use the pointers, so we will go discuss the pointer concepts in the next classes. So just I will skip this pointer of structures. So why? Because we are not at discuss about pointers concepts. So next one is functions. So you already discussed about functions. Now how we'll going to use that functions in the structures. So we'll going to use the functions in the structure, passing structure members to functions. So like this. So can pass the structure members to inside of the functions. So here employee is a function name. So inside of that employee function I'm going to pass members of the structures like emp1. So emp1 is a structure variable and followed by dot operator and followed by structure member. So emp number. So like that we can pass the structure members to functions. So this is example for structure to members. So here employee is a function. So inside of that function you can pass structure members to the inside of the functions. So this is example for structure members to function. So here I am declared the structure employee, and it contain employee number, employee name, and variable is emp1. So now I am going to call one function, that is employee function, and here I am going to read employee number and employee name. So that will I am going to read employee number and employee name from the keyboard. So with help of a scanner function. So it is a address of emp1. So it is a structure variable followed by dot operator and followed by structure member, that is a emp number comma, and it is a string data type. So name is a string data type. So that's why I'm not going to use address operator here. So emp1 dot followed by emp name. And similarly I'm going to pass the these structure members instead of my function employee. So employee and followed by emp1 dot emp number comma emp1 dot emp name. And similarly I'm going to call this function outside of my main method. So that is a void employee. Then I'm going to display employee number and employee name. So let us execute this code in Turbo C++, so that we will go and understand easily. So I'm going to take a new file, and you can save the file. So for saving a file you can choose save as type all files. So after that you can write I will give a function, so function structure and followed by .c and save. So now you can open a Turbo C++. So now we can go to open and searching for function using structure. So just I will be eliminate some comments here. Okay, now we will going to compile the program. So there is no errors in the program. Now we will going to run the program. So now it will going to ask enter the employee number and name of the employee. So I will enter number is 101 and the name of the employee is Sai. So then I got employee number is 101 and the name of the employee is Sai. So here I am going to pass the structure members like EMP number and EMP name inside of the employee function. So that is an example for functions and structures. And the next one is a type def. We'll go and discuss about the next one is a type def. So what is a type def? So with help of this type def, you can define or you can create our own data types. So with help of a type def is nothing but type definition. So by using this type definition, we are going to create our own data types. So for example, so this is syntax for creating of our own data types. So type def and followed by existing data type and followed by new data type. So with help of a type definition, or type def is a keyword. So with help of a type definition, we will going to create a new data types. So the syntax is a type def and followed by existing data type name and followed by new data type name. For example, type def float. So I am going to use a existing data type will be float and followed by the new data type will be real. So now with help of this real, I am going to create another variable area comma volume. So that means that with help of a type definition, we are going to create our own data types. So this is an example here. I am going to define hour h is equal 60 and here I am using a type def. So type def and followed by int. I am using int and hours. So int is a existing data type and hours is a new created data types. So now I am going to use this data type hours and followed by I am going to create another variable is called HRS. So now I am going to read HRS from the keyboard, then I will go and calculate minutes and seconds. So I hope you will be understanding what I am saying. So with help of a type def, we will be going to create our own data types. So example, type def followed by existing data type name and followed by new data type name. So here hours is a new data type name. Now by using that hours, I am going to create another variable is called HRS. So then I got the minutes and seconds in an hour. So that is about type def. Now let us discuss about next one is unions. So what is a union? So it will be similar as a structure. So the union will be similar as a structure. So then what is the difference between a union and structure? So the difference between a union and structure is in a union only one data members. So only one data members will be active at a time. So for example, in a structures, we will going to initialize more than one structure members at a time. So whereas union, you are not going to initialize more than one union members at a time. So we will going to initialize only one union member at a time. If you are trying to initialize more than one union at a time, then what is the last value you are going to assign to the union member? So that value will be assigned to all the union members. So I will explain clearly in the next slide. So union and structure, so there is no difference between a union and structure. So both will be a collection of different data types and having a single name. So the difference is that in a structure you have to use a keyword struct keyword, whereas in a union you have to use a keyword union keyword. And another difference is that in a structure you can initialize all the structure members at a time. So whereas in a union we'll going to initialize only one value, only one union member at a time. And similarly, another difference is that in structure, every structure members having its own memory. Every structure members having its own memory. So whereas in a union, only whereas union, so each member has its own location. So in structure, each member has its own memory location. So whereas in a union, share a common memory. So all the members is going to share the same memory location. I hope you will be understanding what I am saying. So the difference between structure and union is that, so the keyword difference. In a structure you have to use a struct keyword. In a union you have to use a union keyword. And then a second difference is that in a structure all the members can be initialized at a time, whereas union only one member can be initialized at a time. And the next difference is in a structure each member has its own memory location. So whereas in a union it will go and share the common memory location. So that is only the difference between structure and a union. So the syntax of union will be union and followed by union member and followed by uh, union variable, and it will be terminated by semicolon. And examples are union and followed by the union name is exam, and it contains union members are roll number, name, and followed by mid marks M1, M2 and M3, and it will be terminated by semicolon. So it will be like as a structure only, but the difference is that in a structure you have to use a struct keyword, whereas in a union you have to use a union keyword. So now let us see about the memory locations of how the memory will be going to allocated for the union members. So in the previous example, if I want to allocate the memory space for roll number, name, and mid marks, then first I need to check how many bytes the data type which will going to occupy. So for a roll number, it will going to occupy 2 bytes of memory, and for mid 1 and mid 2 and mid 3, which will going to occupy 2 bytes for M1, M2, and M3. So whereas in character, that is a name, so it will going to occupy, the character is going to occupy 1 byte into number of characters in the name will be 10 characters. So then it will be written as a 1 into 10, that is equal to 10 bytes. So 10 bytes. So it is a it will going to occupy 2 bytes, and it will going to occupy each M1, M2, M3 for 2 bytes. So when compared to 2 and 10 and again 2, so 10 is a maximum number of bytes. So 10 is a maximum number of bytes. So for that, so how it will go and store the memory location. So it will go on to occupy the memory locations for largest bytes. So in the largest bytes will be a name. So the name having a largest bytes. So how many bytes for name will be going to occupy? So it will going to occupy 10 bytes of memory. So that will going to occupy the 10 bytes, and remaining union members is going to share the 2 bytes in the memory location. So then total memory will be only 10 bytes only. So if it is a structure, then how many bytes which will going to occupy? So the roll number is going to occupy 2 bytes, and M1, M2, and M3 is going to occupy 2 bytes. So total will be 18 bytes, and followed by character name is going to occupy 10 bytes. So that is a total 18 bytes is required for structures. So whereas in a union, it's required only 10 bytes of memory location. So within the 10 bytes of memory location, and the remaining roll number and mid box is going to share the same memory location. So that means that in a structure, every member having their own memory location, whereas in union, so each member having a largest bytes, so that will going to occupy in the memory location, and remaining members is going to share the same memory locations. So that is the difference between structure and union. And if you have any, you can post your query in the chat box. So this is a example for how many bytes the structure is going to occupy and how many bytes the union is going to occupy. So here I am going to declare the union. So union is exam and roll number, name and mid marks, and the union variable is u1, and the structure exam1 and followed by roll number, name and m1, m2, m3, and the structure variable is s1. So I'm going to find out how many bytes the union member is going to occupy and how many bytes the structure member is going to occupy. So for that, what you have to do in a C language, you have a keyword for find outing number of bytes of a structure of a union. You have to use a size of keyword. So by using a size of keyword, you want to know how many bytes the union is going to occupy and how many bytes the structure is going to occupy. So in this example, so whenever I want to execute this code, then I got the size of union is 10 bytes. So why? Because 10 is a maximum bytes of the union member, and remaining will be going to share within the 10 bytes only. So that's why the size of the union will be only 10 bytes only. So what about in a structure? So the size of the structure is 18 bytes. So that means that roll number 2 bytes and the name will be 1 into 10. So character is going to occupy 1 byte into number of characters will be 10. So that's why it will be 10. So 2 plus 10, that is 12, and integer going to occupy 2 bytes of m1, m2 and m3. Total it will be 6 bytes. So total it will be 10 plus 6 plus 2, that is equal to 18 bytes of memory, which will going to occupied by the structures. So that means that with help of a union, we will going to reduce the memory size. That means we'll go and save the memory space, whereas by using a structure you are going to occupy more memory space. So that is the only difference between a structure and a union. So in this example, by using a size of operator, we will go and find out number of bytes which will go and occupied by the structure and union members. So the union is going to occupy 10 bytes and the structure is going to occupy 18 bytes. That's why you can say that union is going to occupy less memory space and structure is going to occupy more memory space. And now initialization. How will going to initialize the structure? So in the previous I said that in a structure you can initialize any number of structure members at a time. So whereas in a union will be initialize only one member at a time. If you try to initialize more than one member at a time, so then what is the last value which will go and assign to the variable? That value will be assigned to all remaining members also. So I will explain with the example. So here I am writing a initialization of the program of unions. So here I am writing a union name is exam and followed by roll number and followed by mid marks, and u1 is a union variable. Now I am going to initialize the u1 dot followed by roll number is equal to 252. So this is the first time initialization of the union member. So if you are trying to initialize more than one member, for example, I am initializing u1 dot m1 is equal to 89. So actually, according to unions, the union members can be initialized only one member at a time. So if you are trying to initialize more than one union members, then what happened? So what is the last value we are going to assign to the union member? That value will be assigned to remaining members also. So let us execute this code so that we will going to understand very easily. So just you can copy and you can open it in the notepad. So save, you can save the file. So can type as a save as type will be all types, and here I will write a union. So union.c and save. Now you can open your turbo C++. So open the turbo C++. So now we're going to go for open and searching for union. So it is my program. So now I'm going to compile the program. So we can compile the program. So by using a Alt F9. So there is no errors in my code. Now by using a Control F9, I'm going to execute the code. So this is the output. So whereas in structure, you can initialize all the structure members at a time. So whereas in a union, if you are trying to initialize more than one structure member, then what happened? What is the last value you are going to assign to the union members? I hope you will be understanding what I am saying. So in structure, if you can initialize any number of structure members, whereas the union will be going to initialize only one member at a time. If you are trying to initialize more than one union member, then what happened? What is the last value you are going to assign to the union member? That value will be assigned to all the union members. So that's why here in my program I assigning a value will be 89. So that's why, and remaining values like roll number, M1, M2, M2, M3 all will be going to assign as a same 89 only. So for this uh, by using this program, we will going to understand that the structure is going to you are going to initialize the structure members, all the members at a time. So whereas in union members, you are not going to initialize, only one union member can be going to active at a time. If you are trying to initialize more than one union member, then the last value which will be assigned to all the remaining members only. So that is the output of the program. And next one is a self-referential structure. So what is a self-referential structure? And up to now, if you have any doubts, you can post your query in the chat box. So otherwise, I will discuss this topic in the next class. So if you have any doubts, you can post your queries in the chat box. So I will try to answer your queries. So I'm giving a 5 minutes of time. If you have any doubts, you can post your queries in the chat box. I will try to answer your queries. So in the next class, we'll go and discuss about self-referential structure, and after that, we'll go and discuss about what is the difference between a structure and a array, and what is the difference between structure and a union. After that, we'll go and discuss about some file concepts. So that's all about today class, and if you have any doubts in the today session, so please post your queries in the chat box. So that's all about today class. So because there is no power in my place, so for this reason I conclude this video now. So thank you for attending the session, and have a nice day, and we will go and meet in day 21 tomorrow. Thank you.